Hello and welcome back. September the 18th, I believe. September the 18th, 2024 today. And why am I saying that? Why start a video by saying that date? September 18th, 8 years ago, was the day I had a spiritual awakening. I've made some videos about the experience if you feel like watching. I'll give you a quick overview here of just what happened then. Basically, a higher version of myself woke up. A spiritual experience where everything was glowing. Lights had a much more colorful color to them. I could not have any experience in me that was negative at the time. It almost felt as though like walking through heaven, I guess. The only way I could really explain it. If you've heard heaven explained sometime in your life, well, the experience I was having felt like walking through heaven. It felt like I had become something different. A part of me died, and a part of me was gone. It just in an instant disappeared, and then a new part woke up, and the experience of life had been like heaven. Right afterwards, different types of mystical abilities, you could say, unlocked for me. Until that point in my life, I never really was certain if stuff like telepathy was real or just something that we kind of imagine is real. But it verified for me that those types of things are very much real as an experience as a human being. And that was 8 years ago. Today. So, I consider myself today 8. Although I am 45, in human years, this body has been on the earth 45 rotations around the sun. But I have only been awake truly for 8 years of that 45. And today is a video about the possibilities of all of us, that all of us contain within us. Every human has this ability, this dormant, latent energy that we can all awaken to. The society has programmed our brains to be closed off automatically when we hear certain things, certain conversations, certain topics, and we become very ignorant, and we'd rather be so skeptical to the point where we say, nah, that's stupid, meh, instead of actually going into it and seeing for yourself. It's one thing to just agree with what everybody else has always agreed with, if you really want to be ignorant and you're okay with that. Everybody has a choice to live their life their own way, but ignorance does come with a lot of suffering, and you do create a lot of suffering for others. So in a sense, ignorance with that suffering can not necessarily be a bad thing, but it also can trigger a person in the right way, the way that they need in order to be fed up enough to make a change inside themselves, which could lead to you opening up to a new version of yourself that you've been suppressing all this time. So it's not that suffering is bad, but people who live in ignorance tend to not be as happy, and they tend to spread unhappiness. And that can only happen so long for anybody. You might get to the very end of your life, and a moment before death, you might realize you've been living wrong your whole life, and maybe not. Maybe you might take a few lives in order to realize that the misery you experience is self-generated by simply not wanting to do anything different, not wanting to change, hiding from the obvious that we tend to push down as we grow up and accept that this is the society we live in, so we need to be productive, we need to do what society tells us we need to do, because everyone's looking to avoid being criticized. So To avoid being criticized and being pushed out of the crowd, we will say we believe anything, which means even believing that you're something you're not. So everyone has thinking in their mind, thinking, and thoughts are related to experience. So positive or negative, that's not the point, but thinking, when it's related to the experience you're having, can give a person the sense that what you're feeling is real. This is true. What you feel is true, because everything your mind is telling you about the experience confirms, it validifies, because mind and experience are the same in the moment. So you believe that you are your thinking in those times, because the way you feel and the way you think inspire each other in a way which causes that within you, that experience, whatever it is. So you believe yourself to be your thinking because your thoughts seem to verify your experience. And we have learned in life that words, whatever, we have learned to follow words. We understand the meanings of words. So subconsciously, even in your mind, when a word is said, your body may act on its subconscious belief. And then again, that's the what I'm talking about. You think something, your body does it, and subconsciously it's a belief for you. You are that belief. You are that belief as you act it and think it. Together, bam, you are it. You are emanating that energy field of whatever it is the mind and body created together. You see? Mind and body never create who you are. You don't create yourself every time. Think of it for a second. If you have the ability within inside of you to view thinking from a separate point, you can see, oh yeah, there's thinking. And then you can watch. Oh yeah, my body's moving now to thinking. Well, then that means you can't be your thinking, because how could you see your thinking if you are your thinking? How could you see it? Just think of it for a second. How could you see your thoughts if you are your thoughts? How could you, from a perspective away from the thoughts, how could you be away from the thinking? How could you be away from it if you are it? And let me go deeper into what I mean by thinking. Your thoughts, our thoughts, have a continuity. And that continuity has experience after experience after experience that you carry memory as a memory. And that chain, that linked chain of memory, goes back your whole life to a certain age, 2, 3, whatever. So let me get to the point. That string of memories you can look back on, and you do periodically throughout your life, and you see what happened to you. That happened. And you usually say, okay, I'm like this because of this. I'm like this because of this. I'm like this. And you grow, and inside of your mind, you have this world vision, or should say this self-vision of who you are based on what you've been thinking all that time. And you can see that, now you're like this and you were like that. And you believe that this memory chain, it's just memory, that it's you, because there's a memory of it. You remember this. I was there. And who is the one talking? Well, the voice. Where we get confused is, again, how could you watch the voice if you're the voice? When you're there and you see the thoughts in your mind. Here's another question. If you sit there without thinking, waiting for a thought, a thought would come in, and you observe the thought, and let's say you allow the thought to go away. So listen carefully, you are there, you're waiting for a thought comes in, and then that thought goes. The whole time you were there, before, after, during, the whole time you are there while your thoughts come in. If we get confused that we are justified by being and feeling a certain way based on that chain of memory, this happened to me, therefore now I'm bitter, or this happened to me, which means I'm like this and this person, we can compare based on that memory chain, and we position ourselves in different places to other people. We start comparing. That comparison starts to bring misery. The ego has a reason to come in and say, I'm better than them, or I wish I was better than them, or I was like them. I am not good enough. And that starts the whole chain of delusion, because now those two stories that are being said in your head, those two conflicting points of view, a person tends to either believe they are this or they are that. But it's just a collection of thoughts. It's simply a memory bank, a collection of thoughts. It is not who you are. The brain has been programmed through experience to act a certain way. You are not those actions. You can witness the actions, or you can change the actions while the actions are happening, but it's not who you are. Just because you do certain things, it doesn't make you that. You can't add a label and say that person is a meh. You can actually, in reality, say that person, as he was experiencing life, had experienced this, and this. You can't say they did that. Not in reality. Because if you look, a thought just comes in, and if you look carefully, you'll notice an action just comes in after a thought oftentimes, and you did not do anything to start it. It just... So a lot of automaticness is built into each human being. We come with a certain amount of automaticness, and then the society programs that automaticness, and then you kind of tweak yourself based on, right? So that's why there's different belief systems. Everyone tries to find their own place, because that automaticness, you can use that as a guide. People use that as a guide to say, well, where's my people? But I find more people that have that same automaticness as me. People tend to be angry easier. Sometimes people tend to be easier to just let things go. We all come in with a certain... So that's the chain of memory from body to body, DNA chain, right? So that's a whole other. So we tend to confuse ourselves with the actions, the thoughts we have, and forget that we are the witness behind the whole shabam. And when you identify as the thinking and the actions, that's where the misery comes in. As soon as you start to let go of that identification and just witness things, don't allow your awareness to go so low that you don't recognize each thought as they come. If you get below your thoughts, you stay in the chain, you lose where the thoughts begin and end, and you feel like thinking is everything. That's the reality. But if you can allow yourself to take spaces between the thoughts and realize that you're the one that sees the thoughts, then you become aware and above your thinking. And that's where ignorance has a chance to say bye-bye in your life, the more you bring in that presence. So wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.